Hey, it's Bill, and you're tuned into the Pennsylvania Rock Show, featuring the best unsigned rock and metal that Pennsylvania has to offer, right here on PARockshow.com, MegaRockRadio.net, 107.1 FM St. Louis, Missouri, AltRockRadio.ca in Mississauga, Toronto, Canada, XRPRadio.co.uk in Birmingham, United Kingdom. On the west coast of the United States, we have RootarooRadio.com for those beach partying people. And right here in Leechburg, we have BuildTheScene.com. My name is Bill. This is the Pennsylvania Rock Show, episode number 537. And with me is Brady Novotny. What's up, Brady?
Hey, Bill. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
It's been 39 episodes since you were on last.
Yeah. You're a busy guy. A lot's happened, I'm sure.
For those of you that are hanging out in the live video with us, if you want to comment, Brady and I can see it live, so we may interact with you if it seems to go along with the conversation.
Right.
The one thing I do want to ask you about, Brady, is I know back in March you were supposed to do a show with your cousin that got canceled.
Yeah.
And the photo that I'm using for this episode is actually the two of you.
Okay, cool.
So what's the status of that show?
Yeah, we're still waiting. I mean, there's some things that opened up, but we haven't really pushed through. We'll probably just wait until 2021 to come back out and we put a lot of work into it, and I think it's going to be a really fun show, and it's we want to play in front of as many people as you can, and right now that's pretty limited, at least from my understanding. I could be wrong, but I think it's pretty limited nowadays, and we could do it at the Hard Rock, or we could go find somewhere, but just wait until things hopefully open up a little bit more, and then we'll definitely put that back on the books. We rescheduled it twice, but over like the spring and summer, but it just wasn't able to happen.
I would assume that they would consider the Hard Rock a restaurant, so I think there's still 50% capacity.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting post earlier today from a restaurant owner that said that all the restaurants and venues should be contacting ASCAP and BMI and saying, hey, we're paying for full capacity and we're not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw. I mean, people are having some concerts around. I mean, and outdoors and stuff like that. And but I just we just planned on waiting a little bit and hopefully come back, because I was supposed to do the Uli John Roth show out at the Craft House when he came in, but that got canceled at the last minute, right when all that hit, and I'm still waiting for that to be scheduled, and was really looking forward to that show. That was going to be a fun one. And then of course what you're talking about, the Guitar Freaks, was going to be a fun time too. So hopefully soon, miss playing.
I have to get my question out of the way, and you brought it up off the air. Since your wife is currently recording her Divas Dish Diz episode, do you know what they're talking about tonight?
They are. She is interviewing Stacey Aswald, which is if you've ever been to Disney, it's on the channel as soon as you get in the hotel. Top 10 things to do in Disney, and there's this girl who does all these top 10 things. So she's famous in the Disney community, and so she's interviewing her tonight. So, and she's a voiceover actress and stuff like that. So she does a lot.
For those of you that weren't in on that conversation, Brady says that's why he's got the wood behind him, not the cool screen, because she's using the screen.
Yeah. She has the studio tonight. We didn't coordinate.
I told you, Mondays and Wednesdays are mine, and I still have to tell her, hey, I am doing this.
Yeah. I told her, I was like, I'm doing a podcast. She's like, I'm doing mine at 8:30, so I win. So I was like,
oh, I have a light out.
Oh.
There it is.
Cool.
I didn't even realize it. Maybe I should turn it back off. You can see my gray now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you see what I did. There's more hair in that little strand down in your front of your eye than there is on the top of my head.
So I am wearing my red tonight, which is, in memory of old Edward. So I'm kind of paying tribute to that tonight.
So since you brought up Eddie, what's your favorite Van Halen song?
Oh man,
it's tough, right?
There's so many. I grew up listening to. I mean, I grew up in the '80s, so it was the David Lee Roth was the bigger, of my childhood. But man, there's so many. I mean, off of what album?
Yeah.
Which song off of what album? I mean, I always go back to, I love Eruption and everything like that because of the guitar playing. But I just remember the opening riff of Mean Street, and I was like, what is going on there? And, just trying to figure out what he did and how he made that sound. And I mean, his guitar playing and his style and just the way he phrased, and I was just, that's why who he was. He was a genius. I mean, I'm a Randy Rhoads fan by trade, but Eddie Van Halen, is also right up there as well. I mean, those are two of the people that I grew up with.
I read an article this week that said the reason that he started playing Eruption with his back to the crowd was because someone told him that if he keeps playing it where people could see it, other guitarists were going to be able to copy what he was doing.
Yeah. Well, I also heard there was something that he said. He was always, kind of like, oh, I can do that better. Let me record that over again. And I heard something. I think it was on a YouTube clip or something that at the top of Eruption, he made a mistake, but they kept it in. So every time he listened to it, he heard him mess up. And where's the mistake?
I'm sure that drove him nuts.
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of became such an iconic piece.
I also heard that when he played on Thriller, he went in and they did one take, and the producer was like that. He was like, "That's it. That's what I want." And then he kept going, "But I can play it better," and they wouldn't let him.
Yeah. So yeah, he was something else. I saw him live twice. My very first time I saw him live, I didn't get a chance. I was too young to see him back in the David Lee Roth days. But I saw him at the Monsters of Rock at the Three Rivers.
There's a little fly flying around here. The door was open. I'm sure you see me move him. It's annoying.
Yeah, so I was at the Monsters of Rock. I don't know what year that was, 87, 88, something like that. But that's when I saw him live for the very first time.
See, you've been on the show enough that I really need to think about my questions. So this
What's your favorite? You didn't tell me yours. Your favorite Van Halen.
Oh, man, I think it might be. It's either Panama or Jump. They're kind of
okay.
They're just, Hot for Teacher. They're all fun.
Yeah. 1984. That was a great album. I mean, I kind of lost a little bit as they kind of went on, like down the road, but yeah, they, all those man, I used to play air guitar to probably those first 4 albums every day.
That's Mark Madden said that it's really with Van Halen. It's not really an Eddie versus Sammy thing, because all that really mattered was that Eddie was on stage.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's what made he was the sound. I mean, there was no doubt that he was the sound. You know, Michael Anthony was the backgrounds, and you know, they all had it together. I mean, it was, you know, and then of course, you know, I recorded my record with David Granati, who then toured with them, and hearing all the stories, you know, through him, of what it was like to go on tour with them, and you know, I think even Eddie gave him some, like, you know, guitar, you know, pickups, you know, as like a favor, or just, you know, just as a gift, you know, here. And he still has them. He showed them to me. I was like, wow, that's cool. And then of course, all these pictures are floating around, you know, with, you know, Eddie in Pittsburgh and everything. And I remember back in the day when we used to record at Mulberry Street, which was Granati's, you know, studio back in like Coriopolis or whatever. And he would tell me, he's like, oh yeah, you know, I think they would stop over, like David Lee Roth would stop over, or you know, Van Halen would stop by if they were in town and stuff like that. And I was like, that's surreal.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
That's Dave. Dave Granati is someone I need to get a hold of. I have not talked to him on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may use you as a, hey, Brady told me I should reach out to you.
Yeah, he does all that stuff. I mean, he does that Rock Academy, and he does all that stuff with the kids, and he gets them to play out and everything. I mean, he does really good work, you know. And of course, his studio, you know, Dave. He's just fun to be with, and he'll cook you food. So that's how I met John Vento. I don't know if you know John. Yeah.
I know John pretty well. He's played live in the room I'm sitting in.
That's right. Yeah. So
and he has a really cool stage in his backyard.
How do you have a stage, an amphitheater in your backyard? I was like, man, sales are doing good.
Either that or the flooring.
Right? Yeah. He's like, well, PNC kind of owns that. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, he has I mean, I've only been out there like once or twice, but
I've been there twice.
It's you know, pretty cool place.
Yeah, I've been to his why I forget what he calls it, Corbriwoodstock.
Oh yeah,
that it does. Yeah, I've been there twice.
Yeah,
and it's a cool place. It's, you know, an old farmhouse and barn,
mm-hmm.
and flowers from George Washington's garden.
Yeah. And he has a little sign that says it is. Yeah, I gotta. I told him I wanted to play it. I was trying to get in this year with it, but he was all booked up. But hopefully next year. I'm looking forward to maybe doing something there. And of course, his thing at Steamworks and stuff like that. So
I need to make it out to Steamworks. I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, it's a cool place. Real cool place. Yeah, definitely.
And he has the he does the show for it's benefit for
Pittsburgh Together, band Pittsburgh Together.
Well, there's that one, but he does one for his disease his mother had. I can't think of the name of it. He does a lot of benefits.
Yeah, he's he definitely is out there doing a lot. I think he was just playing Sunday afternoon, you know, this past Sunday afternoon, you know, out doing a benefit for somebody and something like that. So his band, the Needs Hotel band, they're pretty busy now, you know, just great. It's great, you know.
And I think when you were on 3 Questions in a Song, weren't you two back to back? I think you were.
Maybe at some point we were, because that was the first time I was on. I think I asked him a question. Yeah. Because we were with Mike Stover, and he I think he kind of got his book or something like that, or something like that.
So you're still. We're gonna play a fourth track off of your Passions Collide on this episode. Soul Harmony.
That's right.
Remind me what the other three are that we've played.
We played, I believe, title track, Passions Collide, Ancient Romance, and Redemption's Cry are the three that we played, I believe.
And how can the listeners get a copy of that EP?
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, you can go to my website, anytime. That's BradyNovotny.com. But if you want to check it out for listening pleasure, you can go to Spotify, same thing, or YouTube under my name. It's all right there. And of course, it's on every digital platform, if you're so inclined to purchase it.
For those of you that are watching the video, it is in the banner down below Brady. I can't point to it. It's over there. You laugh. Go ahead and try and point to it, Brady.
Right, yeah. It's like
see? But it's Novotny, Novotny. That's
correct.
So make sure you get those letters in that order. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Soul Harmony, and then we'll take a listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, majority of the album is of course instrumental guitar music. I mix a combination of rock and flamenco into most of the songs. This is one of them. There's a breakdown section where it definitely goes very Latin flamenco, and but on this tune, I had the horn section, Soulville Horns, which is a local Pittsburgh three-piece horn section, and they played on this tune, and of course they did a great job. So it has kind of like that's where the soul comes in. Got a little horn section, and then just blending the two styles of music of this sort of little funk rock with Latin flamenco, and at least my best interpretation of it. So,
which one of those tracks did you do the video in the castle? I know we talked about that.
Ancient Romance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one. I will embed that video since I brought it up. It's very cool video.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so, that was a year ago this weekend. So we actually shot that down in St. Augustine, Florida. So that was actually a castle in St. Augustine, Florida.
Isn't St. Augustine the oldest city in the United States?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't tell my principal that I knew that. I convinced her I didn't want to teach social studies anymore.
Right, yeah. It is. We have friends that live down there. We go down there every once in a while. But it's such a cool town. But yeah. So that video was filmed there.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a moment and we're going to listen to Soul Harmony. And I'm going to play a Corners of Sanctuary song. They don't really fit together real well. But it was a newer song, and I felt like playing it. It's some kind of like classic metal sound. And it's Corners of Sanctuary, Into the Fight is the name of the track. Okay. And we'll be right back with Brady.
All right.
Hey, so for those of you that are tuned in live, you're not actually going to hear that song or songs because Facebook would mute us and then threaten to delete us, and we don't want to go there. But if you would like to hear the songs, and the rest of the songs will be played on this episode, you can go to buildthescene.com or parockshow.com. They'll actually take you basically to the same place. And any of the streaming stations that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, which I'll mention again real quick. So if you wanted to listen on one of the streaming radio stations, it'll be Friday at 8 p.m. on Build the Scene, Friday at 10 p.m. on XRP Radio, Sunday at 10 a.m. on Mega Rock Radio and 107.1 FM St. Louis. Monday at 2 p.m. on XRP. Monday at 8 p.m. on Build the Scene. Tuesday on XRP at 11 p.m. Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Rootaroo. And Thursday at 7 p.m. on Alt Rock Radio. So we're spanning the globe. All right, so now we're going to come back as if we had been listening.
There we go. Yeah, we're in. Right.
I don't know if anybody got that. That's
Yeah.
from that. That's Wayne's World. Yeah. Look, I even have a trucker hat with me. Should I put it on?
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
Wait a minute. Do it again. It's Fubar from the Pittsburgh area.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you just heard "Into the Fight" by Corners of Sanctuary, and right before that, Brady Novotny's song "Soul Harmony." Brady is with me tonight for episode number 537. We talked a little bit about Dave Granati. We talked a little bit about canceled shows, Corbriwoodstock,
Eddie Van Halen.
Disney podcast, Van Halen.
Right.
If you're familiar with the show, this is right on track. It's all over the place.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
What kind of well, let's do this. I don't think I've ever asked you this question.
All right.
What kind of equipment do you use?
For the guitar?
Yes.
Not for Facebook Live. I go old school. I got an amp. I got a half stack that I usually use for the gigs. It's a Soldano head, which is they call it sort of a boutique amp. Not cheap. I bought it back in the mid '90s. At a very, it was about $3,000 back then. I think now they go to like 5 or something like that, or more. But I still have it. It's one of the best amps. And never, the sound is, everyone in the guitar playing field knows what this amp is. Even there's interviews with even Eddie, playing it, Steve Vai playing it, Eric Clapton. It's the amp you see on an amp on stage and has a blue light. That's a Soldano, and it's just a custom handmade amp. And so I use that. Of course, I have all these effects and blah blah blah. The pedals and fun stuff like that. But other than that, it's just basic guitar into some pedals and directly into the amp. I kind of grew up that way, and that's kind of way I like the sound. A lot of my friends got into this amp modeling and got into Kemper and all these sort of digital things, and though it is easier to carry around the gigs for sure, they only weigh like 8 pounds or something like that. And rather than carrying all this gear around, I just haven't gotten there yet. I might just try it. For some gigs it's nice, but I think for the bigger shows, if I'm going to do Guitar Freaks or something like that, I'm gonna put some amps on stage. That's what you got to do. You
gotta put up that big wall that.
Yeah, to do it in the first place. It wasn't so you can run it through a computer, So yeah, I'll that's kind of what I use now. I might change in the future, but right now it's that's what I'll be doing. So
when you're playing your guitar just to yourself, like you're gonna play it to enjoy it. Are you playing Brady Novotny songs, or are you playing songs from other artists?
I guess I usually there's a couple different ways that I guess what you call practice or whatever. A lot of free noodling, just kind of whatever comes out, comes out. I'm always trying to write something, like just play and try to, if it's a technique or if it's a sound or if it's a riff I really want to work out. I haven't really, I was really bad at learning other people's music. That's why I never played in a cover band or a tribute band, because I'm just really bad at learning solos, note for note. And, I'd like learn the first little bit and then the last little bit and then do whatever I wanted in the middle. So, it was just more my ADD, I guess. I don't know. But I'll usually, either noodle or work on some type of technique or some type of writing or something like that when I play. If there's a certain gig I have to do, of course I'll learn the tunes. That being either for a Guitar Freak show or my own gig or even playing at church. Got to learn certain things.
What church do you play at?
Victory Family Church. It's in Cranberry Township. It's a pretty large one. It's one of those mega churches. So yeah. What song could you pinpoint as that was when you went, I want to play guitar? Like what song made you decide that, or what band? At the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Crazy Train. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to be so boring. I heard Crazy Train. Now, the reason why, I like the title and I like the sound, but I also collect Lionel trains. So I'm a big train buff.
What scale?
O gauge. Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've played with the train, but when I was a little kid, we had a neighbor. I knew him as Mr. Ray. I don't know what his last name was, but he had a big train set up in his basement, and I used to go over and play with his train all the time.
Oh yeah, it's no video game will replace you creating a world on a table.
That's right.
There's just something about it. It's just fun, and you can feel it, handle it, and so yeah, I've been doing that since the age of like 5. So when I heard Crazy Train, I was like, oh my gosh, music, guitar, trains.
I'm in.
Yeah, that's it. This is it. So yeah, that one. I mean, that would be the first one, and then probably in elementary school. Yeah, that's when I first heard Van Halen, and my dad won a back in the day. There was a radio station called B94.
Which was 93.7, if I remember.
Correct.
So it wasn't even 94.
It was when you had to, like, if you're the 10th caller, you get this free whatever. So my dad and mom were a whiz at it, I guess, and they would always get these free albums. And my dad won Van Halen 1, which was their first album. He won Diver Down. So those came in. And once I heard those, I was like, oh well, I gotta get the rest, So but yeah, and my dad also he took me to my first concert when I was in 3rd grade. He won tickets on B94, I think it was B94, but it was the Kansas, and Cheap Trick opened up. And I was probably 8 years old, or 6, 7, 8 years old, or something like that. So, so that was my first show. So I was exposed to loud music very early on.
I didn't go to my first, I went to my first local concert probably when I was 19. Mm-hmm. But I went to a local concert before I ever went to like a major one.
Oh man.
And the first one I went to was Kiss. So
okay, yeah, I was hooked. I was once Kansas, that hit. I went to anybody and everybody who came through. I saw Iron Maiden like 6 times. I saw Rush, the Signals tour. I don't even know how old I was. Dave Lee Ross, Eat 'Em and Smile. That album. Ozzy, Def Leppard when they were in the round. I saw Bark at the Moon tour at the Civic Arena of Ozzy, and I saw Black Sabbath in Oakland. I mean, everybody. It was, I had a great teenage years of seeing a lot of shows.
Since we're talking other bands right now, I sent my brother a link to "Shot in the Dark" by AC/DC, which is their new single, and he responded that he goes, "That's a band that knows their sound and is loyal to it," and he's right. Everything they play, know it's AC/DC. But and who took 3 chords and turned it into such a big,
big sound.
Yeah. But he told me that he told his wife that if they tour, they're going. And my response was, I kind of don't have that ability anymore because I convinced my wife to go see Motley Crue, and she did not enjoy that at all.
What tour was that?
They were with Kiss.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was. It was after. Wow. Let me think. Carnival of Sins was the one that I saw. It's the first time I saw Motley Crue.
Oh yeah.
They had no openers. It was just them for like 3 hours. And it was great.
Yeah.
Well, my brother and I thought it was great. So they were touring with Kiss, and I can get my wife to go watch Kiss with me. Yeah. So I was like, let's go to this one. And no, she said, I will never go see them again.
I actually took my wife to Iron Maiden. Not this past August, but obviously August when it came through. And she's cut from a different musical style. So, but she actually thought it was the best concert she ever seen.
My wife was more. She listens to some rock, but growing up and before she met me, she was more like a country girl.
Oh, okay.
And I was listening to Kiss and Aerosmith and Motley Crue and Def Leppard and and then all the bands that I listen to now that are all local and unsigned. So we have an overlap, but we don't. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now, my wife has finally, crossed over a little bit. I took her to a few concerts. I took her to see Dream Theater, probably about 6-7 years ago. So she liked that, musical, of course, anything that has good vocals and the 80s. I mean, the vocalists were amazing, Something happened though after when the 90s hit, the vocalists changed.
They started singing through their noses.
Right. I was like, what happened? Just
the grunge era.
What went on?
They sung through their noses and kept their lips closed.
Yeah. I was like, did they stop making these, belty singers? I mean, just the universe said, no, we're done.
Everyone wanted to be Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I like Pearl Jam, I like Nirvana, I like Stone Temple Pilots, or STP, Stone Temple Pilots. I like those Seattle bands, but they kind of put a dent into what we were listening to at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a big change in the sound and what you did musically. How you even wrote and how you even tuned your guitar at that point. I was like, okay, nothing's in standard tuning anymore. All right.
If you were to try and explain Brady Novotny as an artist through one of your songs, so like if someone said to you, I want to know who Brady is, but I only want to listen to one song to find out, which song would you tell them to listen to?
I believe it would be the title track. I really think that really showcases the Passion Slides. That was the first song I wrote for the record. And it showcases like, and I've had several people say it's like, well, it's the first tune on the record, so that kind of sets you up for what you're about to hear for the rest of the song, the rest of the music. And as far as me as a player, I've always, I think we've talked about this. I love the rock and all the virtuoso stuff and all that fun stuff. But I also like the nylon string, the classical and the flamenco sounds. That's always spoke to me just as equally as the rock stuff. So, I could go see a concert of Latin musicians easily as I can go see Iron Maiden. So enjoy it just as much.
So as you were talking about that, Santana popped into my head.
Yeah, I mean, I like Santana. He's definitely noted for the Latin stuff, but he's actually, in my opinion, he's kind of like actually more of a blues, guitar player. He has that blues sound. Whereas if you get into like, Randy Rhoads had the classical sound, but then he also had that classical, acoustic and nylon string in some of his music. And you listen to Diary of the Madman. I mean, my gosh, by far, in my opinion, that's probably one of the best songs that showcase Randy.
Let me go with two more questions.
Sure.
If you could join any band in the history of music,
okay,
which band would you want to join?
As a guitar player or as a roadie?
As a guitar player.
As a guitar player. That's a good question. I don't know. I know there's people I'd want to play with.
Throw out a couple of those names.
I think it goes back to when I first learned guitar. I mean, I always wanted to play with Ozzy. Not that obviously he's that ship has kind of sailed, and I don't think Ozzy's really doing a whole lot. But that was one of because of, I think that's how I first was introduced to guitar, was through his music. And even though it was Ozzy's name, he's always noted for his guitar players. I think that was something that I really have wanted to do. But it would be fun to be that third guitar player in Iron Maiden that nobody knows.
Now, at this point in the juncture, would they let you on the stage, or would you be one of those guys off the stage that you can't see?
Right.
Every time I see that, I'm like, really? Their instrument can be heard. Put them out on the stage.
Right. True.
All right. Last question.
All right.
If you were going to host a podcast, what would the title be?
I would have to say something to the effect of, we have to have guitars in it at some level. But I also like life, guitars and life or something, guitars and, I don't know, on and off the stage, whatever it is. But, because I always like to hear about what people do, of course, in their music and everything. But it really draws me in when I have that personal connection of like, it's like, oh, you have a day job. Oh, okay. What do you do? I want to know, like, what is it like? Even when I'll see, even on Facebook, I mean, of course, Red Beach is a big guitar player around the Pittsburgh area, but sometimes there's like a video or something where he's, playing with his granddaughter or something like that. And it's like, just want to see little bits and pieces of like, or hear about bits and pieces of people's lives, like, oh, I shopped at Kohl's, that's where I got this, but I think or hear what they do for a living, or where they went to school, or just more information than just about the music. I think is something that I'm really interested in. I like to hear about.
Cool. Hey, I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again.
It's episode 537. Make sure you stick around and listen to some more of the best unsigned rock and metal that Pennsylvania, what is that? Pennsylvania has to offer. And check us out each and every Friday for a new release. Next week we have Gary Burke III. Following week we have Jeff Benton. You see how that worked?
Right.
On November 6th we have Gonto and Friends. I can't tell you about the and Friends yet. I know, but it hasn't been released yet. Then we have Three Vultures coming from Akron, Ohio, but their drummer was born in Pennsylvania. So
that's golden.
On November 20th, we will be talking to Half Wheel. Brad Abbott on the 27th. December 4th will be Royal Honey. Joel Miller, from the author of the book Memoir of a Roadie, on December 11th.
Cool.
I actually did that interview already, so if you want to check that out, you can go on Facebook and see it. Robert Wagner on December 18th. We're going to have a Christmas special with Christina Santavica from the Shadow event. That one's going to be a little different. We're going to play Christmas music, and she's going to interview me.
Nice.
Parabellum on January 1st. After the Fall on the 8th. Corners of Sanctuary, who we played tonight, on the 15th of January. So make sure you check us out. If you would like to be a guest on the show, drop me an email at bill@buildthescene.com. You will know the episode is over when you hear John Lane give us the outro, and then hang out on whatever station you're listening to, because I'm sure there's going to be some more great unsigned music for you to listen to. And we'll catch you next week.